of RTD is leaving the job. The transit agency is in a pit, as one board member told me today. Constant cancellations due to a staffing shortage, an inability to keep its promises to communities that have paid for trains. Dave Genova says he is voluntarily retiring. A decision RTD says came just hours after he was telling us last night that no one was asking for him to go. And then he said this.
I've talked to operators who are frustrated with the top of the organization, so I'll ask again, is there any level of accountability here for this situation?
Yeah, certainly there is.
What is that level?
Genova's time as CEO of RTD has been marked by some landmark commuter line openings, but also lengthy delays, technological problems, legal fights with RTD's partners, and Genova's stubborn insistence that RTD's problems were not the agency's fault. Steve Steger has that.
Dave Genova's led RTD through a period of innovation filled with challenges. He's defiantly rejected questions and criticism, often more likely to sugarcoat instead of admit to problems. His first big moment repping RTD, the A-line opening in 2016. In its first few months, the train to the plane was quite a pain, with several high-profile problems, including that one time the train got stuck on the tracks around the same time a news chopper was in the air. Today, ridership numbers on the A-line continue to grow, even as the train still hasn't gotten full federal approval for its crossing gate problem, the one that made flaggers stick around longer than expected and delayed the opening of the G-line in Arvada for 2 years. Under Genova's leadership, the agency expanded light rail further south to Ridgegate Parkway and added an all-new line to Aurora, though even that came with trouble. Lower than anticipated ridership numbers led the agency to cut service almost immediately, prompting a public fight between then Aurora Mayor Steve Hogan and RTD. Genova leaves the agency in the midst of a huge problem, an operator shortage, leaving the RTD board with few options, on the brink of cutting service to make it seem more reliable. Last night, Genova told reporters that problem has been growing since 2015. And when we pressed him about accountability for it, my colleague Mark Salinger asked if he had ever considered stepping aside.
I can tell you no one's asked me for my resignation.
Have you ever considered or have any plans to step aside?
Well, I look at my future like anybody else, and when I think about careers and potential and opportunities.
Genova also faced a lot of criticism during his tenure for not finishing fast tracks in building a train to Longmont. Recent projections say it'll be 2050 before anyone actually sees that train. But that was a promise made long before Genova's tenure.
Sure.
Obviously, when fast tracks was passed by the voters. So the next steps now, the board will pick the next GM and CEO. That GM and CEO will report directly to the board.
And we'll report to a mix of people with different perspectives. We've heard from Board Director Natalie Menton on this program before. She's a critic of RTD. She was telling me the number one thing she wants is somebody who can come in, get up to speed quickly so they don't lose any more time on their problems. And she insists that she's tired of the false promises, tired of the rosy scenarios.
Yeah, and in this situation, you got to look at who's taking over. Is going to be taking over an agency that's having trouble, that's had delays in the past, has a lot of looming projects that are still there, but also has this operator shortage that is just wreaking havoc within the organization right now.
Promises from 2004 that they can't keep till 2050. All right, thank you, Steve. My sincere thanks to everybody who this time last night was sharing that photo of Miracle Adu, spreading the word, offering a prayer or hopeful thoughts for that 18-month-old. Little girl was found late last night after a whole day spent alone in her mother's car. Miracle had not been seen since the day before, and initially there was confusion about whether she was last in Denver or Aurora. So then police find her mother, Tiffany Hardy, early yesterday morning. She was in downtown Denver. She was without the girl. Investigators said that she was having some kind of an issue. She was in no condition to answer questions. It wasn't until Miracle's father called police around 12:30 yesterday that they learned that the girl was missing. The mother eventually was able to lead police to Northeast Denver. Officers went block by block until they found the car near MLK in Monaco, and Miracle was sitting inside, strapped into her car seat. An officer broke a window to get her out.
As soon as I broke the window, baby Miracle started kind of bursted out crying, which is a good thing. She was obviously really scared. Once she got into a warm car, I think she realized that that this was a good thing.
Miracle's mother could face criminal charges. As of now, police say they're also looking at whether the mother herself may have been the victim of a crime. Our next question comes from a viewer named Terry. He asked why an Amber Alert wasn't issued when police were asking the public to help find Miracle. So, Terry, Amber Alerts are exclusive to child abductions, and they're supposed to meet certain criteria, although we have seen agencies, including Aurora PD, bend those rules before. The guidelines state the child must be 17 years old or younger, in immediate danger of serious harm or death. There has to be enough descriptive information to broadcast, and it has to be requested by a law enforcement agency. The Colorado Bureau of Investigations handles the alerts here. Aurora police tell us there was no reason to believe that Miracle had been abducted, so they worked with CBI to issue a missing endangered persons alert instead. A man with a gun threatening people at a mosque in Denver was first investigated as a potential hate crime. Our Marshall Zellinger looks at why incidents they would appear to be obvious hate crimes often are not in the eyes of the law.
The FCC does not allow us to show you much of the graffiti inside David's home behind Cherry Creek High School. Last year, a handful of teens used his empty home as a party house, if you consider graffiti, including the N-word and swastikas, as a party.
It's hard to believe imagining seeing swastikas and the N-word, and it's not considered a hate crime.
No one accused of trespassing in his home was charged with a hate crime, which we learned earlier this week from the Attorney General has a high standard to win in court.
Is a crime, so this would be harm to a person or property, motivated by bias, by who the person is. That makes it a hate crime.
That's what had to be considered inside the graffiti home. Did the teens mean to harm a specific person with something offensive?
We have to be able to show that the reason that the suspects put the swastikas on a wall was specifically targeted at the victim because of their background, that their intention was to alarm this person, annoy this person, harass this person.
And that is a similar threshold with the incident of a man with a gun outside a Denver mosque. The Denver District Attorney did not file charges for a bias-motivated crime because there is currently no evidence that either the victims or the mosque were targeted because of their faith or religious beliefs.
If it was charged as a hate crime, there would be a higher risk of that individual walking. It is unfortunate that that individual chose to do what he did in that place, but it's giving us the opportunity to forgive this individual.
It's really hard to process this distinction that someone chooses a particular place to act out, or they choose a particular symbol, but the way the laws are written, you have to get inside that person's head and figure out intent. And that's why hate crimes, or bias-motivated crimes as the law defines them, are difficult to pursue, Kyle.
And prosecutors, Marshall, are looking to bring cases that they have a great confidence that they're going to be able to win, as opposed to just, well, this is public sentiment, so let's try and make a point about it.
And in that same news conference where we heard from the Attorney General, they were encouraging people to report incidents that they think are hate crimes, but then we see these incidents here, and it may give someone thinks twice, like, hey, so these people reported it, but it wasn't the idea is still report what you think might be a hate crime.
All right. Thank you, Marshall. So today we're learning which schools exactly in Douglas County are going to get school resource officers for security. Now, the county commissioners and the school district have set aside some of their political issues and come to a truce on how to secure schools. There will be 14 new school resource officers going to high schools, including one at STEM School Highlands Ranch, where 18-year-old Kendrick Castillo was killed protecting his classmates from a shooter in May. There are 2 charter schools and 5 middle schools, each getting an additional officer. And then the other 7 new SROs will patrol the 34 elementary schools within the county. Castle Rock PD also added a school resource officer to patrol the city's middle schools. Parker Police put 2 more officers into their rotation. And the cost for all of these new SROs is being split by the county, the school district, and those private schools involved. Every time we bring up Colorado's new traction law, you write in to tell us that you are confused. You know who else was confused? Colorado State Patrol. Drivers have been wondering about exactly what is required of 4-wheel drive or all-wheel drive vehicles under the new law. So CDOT has been pushing, and we've been repeating, that 4-wheel drive vehicles would need snow tires or chains during severe snowstorms. And you keep telling us that does not sound right. That just doesn't make sense. But CDOT and the State Patrol kept doubling down on that. Well, it turns out all the while, state troopers were like, yeah, it doesn't make sense to us either.
As we looked into it more, we became a little confused ourselves because we were saying one thing and then we had other messages going out, so there was just some confusion. As it stands right now, with the way that the rules are written, they don't coincide with the statute.
So, here's the deal. This is what State Patrol is saying now. If you have a four-wheel drive vehicle with the proper tire tread, 3/16 of an inch, you're good to go. You should not get a ticket.
Snow tires, all-wheel drive, they can't help you if you don't use one other important piece of equipment. Hint, it's located between your ears. And the ice sending cars sliding would have done the same to players on the court. The most Colorado thing we've seen today. Next.
The most Colorado thing we've seen today is kind of like Hoosiers meets Frozen. Kids at the studio school in North Glen bundled up to go out and play some basketball, and the game lasts until the first shot got stuck in the frozen net. The teacher there, Stuart Sanks, got the photo for us. Teachers got the ball out, but then the second shot got stuck as well. What's the most Colorado thing you've seen? Share it with the hashtag HeyNext or email next@9news.com.
It was cold enough up there to get that basketball net that frozen. Things are going to be changing quite a bit over the next couple of days for us. We will be warming back up. 55 tomorrow, 61 but windy on Sunday. And that wind comes in advance of the changes that we have in store for our forecast. Early next week, we get cold again with a chance for snow on the way. This system approaches from the north and it's going to be diving south. So we're pretty sure about that cold forecast. It's just how much snow is coming with it that's up for question. We're going to have to give it another day or two before we have a better idea on what that has in store for us. The one that sits offshore of the Baja Peninsula, that's going to be the weather maker for the Midwest for the Thanksgiving holiday. Your forecast for the Denver area for the next couple of days, 50s and 60s. As I mentioned, it's going to be beautiful for the weekend, but we do cool off with that next system. Chance for some accumulating snow and a big drop in temperature. 28 our high for Tuesday. By the time Thanksgiving hits, it's just going to be a memory. Kyle, we'll be back up to about 50 for a high.
I am liking that, says the guy who's stand out by the smoker with the turkey. Thank you so much. Hey, happy birthday, Denver. You are looking smoking hot for age 161. November 22nd, 1858, Denver City was founded by William Larimer Jr. According to state historians, he named the city in honor of James Denver, the territorial governor of the Kansas Territory, the kind of purely political backside kissing that we call out on this program, but it happened before we were on the air. 1860, Denver City was incorporated to include Auraria and Cherry Creek. In 1902, a constitutional amendment made Denver its own city and county.
Let's hear your good news.
My bad news is that I'm going to have to catch up on school.
I said good news.
My good news is first time sledding is fun.
More of that next.
See that nasty pileup on 6th Avenue last night? About 50 cars tangled up on the ice. What is it about that spot on 6th, right there by I-25? We asked our meteorologist, Corey Reppenhagen.
A road has the ability to store heat, and the surface of that road won't freeze until the cold air overcomes that heat. That can take minutes, hours, or even days to happen. It depends on several environmental factors, like traffic transferring additional heat into the road through tire friction or warm engines. Sunlight can put additional heat into the road even if it's overcast or the air temperature is well below freezing. Most roads are built into the ground, which stores heat and also insulates it from cold air. If a road is elevated, it freezes faster. An overpass like this one on 6th Avenue near Calumet gets cooled from above and also from below. Essentially, potentially freezing twice as fast as a surface road. AAA Colorado says those fancy technologies like skid control, anti-lock brakes, and top-of-the-line snow tires can help you stay in control, but may not have been able to keep you out of a mess like this last night.
The only technology that can prevent you from sliding on ice is you. It's your own brain and your own sensibility and your own ability to control your speed.
All you can do is drive slower to increase your stopping distance. Even a four-wheel drive vehicle with new snow tires can get into crashes like this.
I think a lot of people think that four-wheel drive means four-wheel stop. What I can say is that with a limited exception, all of the fancy equipment, all of the fancy technology, none of that's going to help you stop any better.
Meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen for Next.
So I didn't know this, probably because I don't drive a newer vehicle, but apparently there are cars now that beep at you when the temperature drops below freezing. It's supposed to get your attention to slow down. That is awful fancy, but I will keep my compact disc player. It's Next's favorite time of the year, when we get to hear about your holiday fails, the segment we call It's the Thought That Counts. Know that a lot of people are prepping for a big Thanksgiving feast soon, so all right, come on, fess up. What was your worst holiday mishap? Or send in your moms or your uncles or your grandfathers or something. Every family has one. Hope that you have a seamlessly smooth holiday, but it's honestly a lot more funny when it goes wrong. Share your best holiday fails with us via email, next@9news.com, and I read everything that comes to the hashtag #HeyNext. Favorite part about Fridays continues even on a snow day. Your good news next. Your good news tonight comes to us from Texas via Westminster. It's a reminder that the snow that some of us grumble about is pure joy to people who rarely see it.
I'm going riding down the sled all the way to where the ducks were. I'm from Austin, Texas, and I'm here for my competition. My good news is that I'm hanging out with my mom for the first time alone. My good news is that I don't have to do any homework. My bad news is that I'm gonna have to catch up on school. Okay, bye-bye. My good news is first time sledding is fun. What about our colors? Yeah, black and silver. Black and silver.
I bet you've never cheered with snow pants on.
We get to make snowmen and snow angels and ride down the hill.
I just love that. Smart feedback about RTD tonight. Colleen Beebe says, there's so much potential, yet service continues to deteriorate year after year. We need new leadership. Jeff Coleman says, this is a tough job. Stage was set when the fast track team promised every community everything they wanted in 2004 to get their vote. They simply ran out of money. Genova was at the helm when the train tipped. That is a very fair assessment, sir. See you next time.